The tragedy of 9/11 unfortunately used violence and terrorism to educate the great issue that was there and had been there for 40, 50, maybe years more, which was the fact that the Islamic population, which maybe is 1.5 billion people, were among people who were most poor and the most difficult living conditions in the world. And certainly it's wrong to express something like that through violence, but it did get the world's attention. You know, for what reason this many people lived in such difficulty and who was responsible is what's still being sorted out in the world today, you know, because in some ways the West did sponsor the dictators and the leaders who controlled those people and kept their lives so down, and yet and because of the discovery of petroleum or with the other issues, but I do fear that the underlying reasons for such an expression of violence were not as widespread understood as I would have wished, and people and perhaps it just polarized people further, instead of saying, well, there's a lot of people in the world who are different than us, who have lives not as good as us, and partly our life is as good as it is because theirs is so bad. So I would have hoped that something so tragic and dramatic as the tragedy in New York would have done more in the way of understanding of what the conditions were before that brought that about.